Welcome to Plug into Your Life. I have Christy Whitman here, and I am so blessed and honored to have you, Christy. Thank you for joining us.
I'm so excited you asked, Dylan. So happy to be with you. It was really nice to meet you.
Yeah. Now, I got to experience a little bit of you at um, a mystical healing experiences retreat, and I am just so honored that you're here and so excited to dive into some of these conversations because I don't know if you know this, but I had a near death experience that allowed me to leave my body. I met these light beings, and when I came back into my life, I was still experiencing and seeing these beings in the hospital room.
Mm.
And I literally thought I was crazy. My ex wife at the time, or my wife at the time, thought I was crazy. And I couldn't stop talking about it for like a year, 2 years. And I knew I wasn't crazy. And I knew that there's beings around us all the time and that we are light beings and having a human experience. And it changed my life radically to the point where now I'm doing this. I walked away from a whole business and life. And so hearing and seeing and learning more about people like you, and it really kind of gives peace to people that are having these experiences, especially now. There's a lot of energy going on. Anyways, instead of rambling on, I would love to know,
I like your rambling. Rambling is
okay,
good. Yeah.
so I just want to know, what was your life like before? And how did this all start?
You got me emotional because I could feel the energy of that experience
Mm.
and the just wow. I mean the visual of that. So yeah, you got me. I got you. I'm verklempt. Yeah, I was honestly I a spoiled spoiled um girl from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Mm.
And, my dad worked really hard for my mom and me and my sister. And, he retired. He's turning 90 this month, but he retired at 85. And he was just a really hard worker and to provide. And he provided well. And it was just never enough, meaning for my mom,
Mm.
right? And I learned that. And so I learned some programming. I had my own, stuff going on, but basically, and I had a sister who was what is, but was 11 years older than me. And she went down a path that was pretty dark. And I went down there with her a little bit. And that path ultimately led her to commit suicide. Mine veered off. And that's where I learned about energy and meditation
Mm.
and light work. And I've never shared it like that before, right? It's like I went in one direction, and I remember the moment, because she and I were really super close, even though we were so, far apart in age. um, I was living in Northern California, she lived in Southern California, and she came up to visit me, and we spent this amazing weekend. And I brought her to my meditation teacher, and who did readings and all this. This is like 28 years ago. And she normally loved that kind of stuff. We were into astrology together. We give each other
Yeah.
gifts as for readings and stuff for Christmases and birthdays and things like that. And so I gifted her a reading with Melanie, and who is my dear first teacher. And she's the woman that told me you're a channeler, which I had no idea what she was talking about at the time. I was pretty mainstream, right? I remember the first time I went to my meditation teacher, she had crystals and candles and, statues of angels and all this stuff. And clinky, clinky music. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a rock and roll girl. Like I grew up going to rock concerts, and, so that was like very far fetched from who I was. I was a girl that used to, like bad boys, because I didn't really deserve, or thought I didn't deserve, love. And so I made
Mm.
choices, and I'm glad I did. They were all perfect experiences on my physical trail, and I love and bless them, all of them. But um, the type of person I am with now, compared to the type of person with the type of qualities that I would normally choose, is much more light filled and better for me, and alignment with my own self-love and more consciousness. So anyway, back then my sister came to visit me, and she went and saw Melanie. She went for her reading. I picked her up afterwards, and I just looked at her, and she had this just dark energy about her. And I remember driving, looking at her going, what happened? Like, normally, like, we do the sister thing. It's like, what'd she say? Well, she said this about mom. Oh, really? We would do just the sister girl thing. Mm-hmm. And she was super quiet about it. She didn't want to talk about it. And there was just a darkness that came over her. And I brought her to the train station, and she was walking away. We hugged and said our goodbyes. And instead of driving off, I just paused and I watched her walk away. And that was literally the last time I ever saw her. Wow. And it was that pivot point where she just kept going. And I was pivoting into a place of light. And so that's who I became in that moment, committed to light, and committed to, what I had been doing, committed to meditation and energy work, and, reading. It brought me so back when I met you at the event that we were at, the Mystic Healing Experience. Neil Donald Walsh was one of the speakers, and it brought me back to that time, because this is like a channeled book. Ooh, what's that? And just the people the authors like Marianne Williamson and Wayne Dyer and, Abraham Hicks, and all of these people that I just wanted to learn from, Louise Hay, and read and digest their books and do their processes so that I could too, live in a better place of light. And I just wanted to heal. And so my sister ended up committing suicide. And from that split path, I was so grateful, because I literally was at a meditation retreat learning how, in a sense, to open up to my inner healer. And we were doing a meditation. It was Memorial Day, so it's coming up. It was a Memorial Day, and we were in a meditation, and they asked us to think of someone that would want a healing, or, would enjoy a healing. And all of a sudden I saw my sister in my picture, a picture of my sister in my mind. And there was like light all around her. And a friend that I went to, she also kind of hooked into it. And it was the same time that the coroners determined was the time of death, is when she went into this bubble of light.
Oh, wow. My hair just stood up. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I've got crazy stories about me and my sister and I, and just different things and symbols and music. But yeah. And so we drove home the whole way home. And I feel like my sister like stepped aside, and because and I can see this now, because I've been through the grieving, I've been through the contrast, I've been through, the deepening, the crying, the anger. I've been through all of that in the process of loss and the process of grieving, as we all need to. When it comes up, we need to feel it so we can let it go. Energy mastery. Thank God back then I knew at least that I needed. And I remember hearing Marianne Williamson one time, because I had her cassette tapes that I would put in my car. And I remember her saying that if you have, and I'm summarizing it, it's not word for word, but if you have 8 tears to cry and you only cry 2, there's still 6 left, and it's in you. Yeah. And that was like a revelation for me, that, wow. So I allowed myself to cry every single one of those tears. And I didn't realize that I was processing and mastering my energy back then, as the council now talks about. So who I was just a mainstream rock and roll girl from Scottsdale, Arizona. And I was boy crazy. I was I grew up pretty popular in school as a homecoming queen, set off to make my own way in a career. And I moved to Chicago, and a big city, and started at a liquor and wine company, and worked hard, and, got promotions, until one day I went, I have money. That's cool. I have my best friend, and we're in the city together having fun. It's a great city. I mean, I'm in my early 20s. My job is to wine and dine because I went to bars and restaurants, and take my friends to go and meet the restaurateurs, right? And then one day I realized I'm unhappy.
Mm.
It's like I got all those things. I thought I had the list. This is the list. What I should be like, oh, like shouldn't the heavens part because I scratched off everything on my list?
Mm.
And that was a moment where that's where I started going, what? There's got to be more. Because what I started to realize with Melanie as my teacher, and that's a whole nother story, is that there are perspectives, there's spectrum of perspectives, but there is a perspective of lack, which always feels bad, and a perspective of abundance, which always feels good. And just understanding that there's a different mentality over here, let's just call it lack. That's where we have the perspective of being separate from, not instead of oneness. We have the perspective of competition instead of collaboration or inspiration. We have drama and chaos instead of peace and flow. They're contrasting. Lack is another way of saying it. Limitation, powerlessness, all of that comes from that perspective, which feels bad. So if we're feeling bad, if we're feeling off, if we're feeling sluggish, whatever that term, whatever you want to define it as, you don't feel good. You're somewhere in your consciousness are in lack. And for me to get that, I started with my thoughts, because Melanie said to me, first thing she ever said to me is, you create your own reality. And I went, I do. I knew that. It's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, all these pictures started flashing of me realizing, yeah, I said I wanted that and that happened.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're right. And then the mind kicked in. How do I create my own reality? And she just came back to me with your thoughts. You're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you based on the way you think. That started it all for me.
Wow, yeah, and I'm just like sitting here listening to you, and I can even see like my own awakening of that process of when I realized like, oh my God, like I can let go of my judgment over what's good and bad because I created all of it.
Yes,
like
exactly.
in
And you
some
know what's
way.
and you know what's cool to take it to the next level, Dylan, is that the divine in us doesn't care. It's not judging us. It's we're the ones, the lower level version of ourselves are the ones that are judging and beating ourselves up, because the divine, minute it happened, there was a release of it, there was forgiveness, there was nothing to forgive. It was just an experience.
Oh yes, I heard that at the event where God's never gonna forgive you. And I think Neil's the one who said this, and some people kind of had you weren't in this part of it. Um, he said, God, I got news for you. God's never going to forgive you. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Because there's nothing to forgive. Like, it's our
Yes.
perception over what should or shouldn't be, or you should do it this way or this way. When if
Yeah.
God is everything, how is God over here but not over here, or judging this but not this, when the fabric of reality only exists because of the contrast? If you didn't have contrast, it'd be all light. How can you experience anything else other than light if you don't have the contrast of that?
That's true.
Yeah. Oh.
That is 100% spot on. Yeah.
So when like okay, so you started awakening, which I don't know if that's what you call it, but like your basic awakening. And
I
so for
became,
me,
I like to say because we're always on a spiritual path, right? So I used to say, well, I got on my spiritual path when I was about 20, I got on my conscious spiritual path.
mm, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So when you got on your conscious spiritual path, I love that. Yeah, because it's all a spiritual path.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like I know for me anyways, I'm going through these stages of okay, I walked away from money, business, the life that everyone said I should have. I went through the stages of feeling guilty or judging myself or fear based on walking in this direction, knowing that abundance is a feeling, not a thing, knowing that the abundance that I've already manifested is there already, but not experiencing it in the 3D yet. Like, there's the hiccup, like, because I know you're like a master manifester. I don't know if you want to call that,
Thank you.
a lot of the books and other content that you have. I think a lot of people have this experience where they're manifesting something. And I don't know how we got in this topic, sorry. But,
I love
and
it.
then all of a sudden they don't experience it and it takes time. How to, like, what are some suggestions you have for keeping in that vibration of, okay, it's already there, letting it go kind of thing? Do you mind if I kind of open that up a little bit?
I'd love to. I'd love that discussion. Yeah. So it's almost like, and this is what I love about the Desire Factor, the book that the council directly channeled through me. All my books are channeled, but this was a direct collaboration with the council. And there are 7 principles that all build on each other. So it's like taking each principle and being able to stretch it, right? And to understand really what, like, kind of looking under the hood of each principle and how energy actually sets up. Because when you understand that if you want something, if you desire something, and any part of your consciousness has attention on the fact that it's not here yet, that's where, and it sounds so counterintuitive. Well, of course, I mean, my attention is on the fact that it's empty. I don't have it. The ring isn't on the finger. The man's not in the bed. The car's not in the house is, it's not here yet. The money's not piled up yet. Of course, I can see that. But it's changing the perspective. He's saying, yes, but energetically, right? Because any form has to come from the energy, and the energy has to be there. So the minute your awareness, your mind, which it's not stupid, it's meant to go, hey, what are you looking at? There's nothing here, right? Yeah. Are you delusional? I mean, our minds are brilliant. And if we start connecting with our minds and feeding our minds, that bridges that gap. And what I mean by that is when you are aware, become consciously aware, at that moment, you're like, hey, I don't have it. Why is it taking so long? Right? The momentum of that thought starts because the awareness is not here. He's not here. She's not here. It's not here yet. That's the moment where you want to stop everything you're doing, because that's the place of split energy. And in order to bring the energy back together and be in alignment and speed up the process, and then even play with the concept of space and time and being able to, really maneuver energy, we're talking about the energy. So your mind goes to, you don't have it yet. It's not in the physical. That's the moment to just stop, because that part of your awareness, thank you for sharing that. You're right. Let me feel it now. So that the part of you that feels that it's even started, like if you have a thought, that thought ignites the energy inside of your emotions. It just happens. And it can happen like, hey, it's not here yet. Oh, why isn't it here yet? Like that impatience, or God, I've been waiting so long, or frustration. It can happen quick, especially if it's something you care about, especially if it's something that you deem that it's been taking a long time. If there's emotion, if there's imprints there and the energy has been building up, it's really easy to, strike that pain, so to speak, right? And so that split energy, you want to be able to just stop and fill yourself up with the vibration of already having it. Like it's already here. What does that feel like? For example, someone was talking, I certify coaches, and I have since 2008. And so I was doing office hours with coaches today. And we were talking about how a client of his has money to last him 30 more years and plus, right? But he still doesn't feel secure with money. And that happens a lot, especially if someone has come from a place of not being raised with money and not having money. They worked really hard to have a very different lifestyle than they had to make something of themselves. They get there, and if they haven't changed the belief system, the split energy, because let's talk about over here what our consciousness is. If they haven't cleared that energy out, or that habitual resonance with that vibration, then they're going to still continue to create what they always created, or at least, you know, from a place of feeling insecure in this case. So he wants money. He always was driven to get the money so he could feel secure. And he now has the money, but he still doesn't feel secure. I've had that happen, right? You know, you think it's this thing, it's the person, it's the place, it's the thing that's going to finally make you, and it comes, you get it, and you're like, oh, that didn't happen. Right? So it's almost that moment of like, oh, it's disappointing, right? And when you stop and you recognize that it's the underlying current. So it's not about the 3D stuff. You could have the money and still feel insecure, but you could also not have money and feel secure. And that feeling of security, along with working and doing action and things, that's going to bring you to a place where you're going to be vibrationally resonating with something that is beyond your current reality.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely experienced that. And so basically, like with the first thoughts that come, because it's like a river that constantly flows, right? My mind. And it's a matter of just, okay, I recognize that. Thank you. It's not that I'm saying it's not real. No. Come back here. I am abundant. It's, oh yeah, you're right. Thank you. But let's direct our thoughts over to here of what it would feel like to be experiencing that now.
Yes.
And stay into that. Because so like if someone's handing me a toy when I'm a kid and all of a sudden I get excited, well, tune into that emotion or that feeling of how it would feel to be receiving that right now, or the money or the car or whatever it is. And then, so is it the longer that you pay attention to that feeling, or the more that you keep directing your attention and emotions back to the feeling of already having it, the longer and the more you can do that, the easier it gets and the faster you manifest?
Yes, every shift, if even a word, when you change your words, when you watch your words and you flip the word, you're opening up to different pockets of energy. And think of it as opening up to different pockets of possibilities and potential for something to become. Because when you're using words or phrases, so let's talk about consciousness. When you're speaking, when you're saying words, you know, you are sending out energy into the universe. That's the basis of law of attraction, right? What you send out, you get back. Let's take it from a broader view. Each one of us is a human being, of course. We know that. We can see that. We're talking, we have eyes, nose, you know, we're not a dog, we're not a cat. We're communicating through an English language. We can see that. We're human. You're a man, I'm a woman, whatever, you know, or however deem politically correct at this moment in time. So that energy to say that I'm alive and therefore talking to another alive person, there's divine pouring through you because there's life pouring through you. There's that God self. There's that divine in me as well. So knowing that and knowing that that source is always connected to us, and it's energy, we are energy receivers. We're always receiving an energy. Think about what a breath is. Think about a heartbeat. We can't not receive an energy. We know what it's like to be around someone's in a negative mood. Their transference of energy came into us, and then we got into a lower level mood, or their pain body ignited our pain body. That we're receiving in all the time. When we deliberately choose to connect with our higher self, if you will, the divine self, however you want to term it, God self, universal law, or universal until there's so many, call her Sarah, Suri, or, you know, Suri, whatever. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's there. It's this energy that is, we can pull in, call in, allow in is even a better word, allow in to resonate with. And then we are also energy containers. So we're energy receivers. We're energy containers. What are we holding our space in? And that's where our consciousness, like the energy of I'm choosing to focus my consciousness on joy, on abundance, on feeling good, however you want to, whatever that essence or that experience that you individually want to have. And then contain that. And then what happens from that energy, feeling that energy of joy, then what we send out, our words, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our expectations, perspective is another way of saying that, our actions. You know, it's like that, those are the actions that we take, inner and outer actions, to send energy out. A thought, I could be sitting here and you look like I'm not doing anything, but I'm thinking, and that thought has a vibration. It's a spark of energy that then allows, an energy cannot just stop and dissipate. It goes out and it creates, and it matches with other vibrations that are of its same, and then it gains a momentum and it gains a vortex, and then it starts drawing things to us in our physical experience.
Now I just want to open that up a little bit, because you brought up so many good things. So first of all, if anyone's interested in watching your words, you have a watchyourwords.com that you can check out. It gives you a free 30-day training on that. But words are so powerful, I feel like, because, well, in my out-of-body experience, I saw that these beings and us, we don't see off of actual sound. It's the vibration that's carried through the words. And so if you talk about words, like, that's why I get so caught up with, like, when people take something that someone wrote and then translate it and then say their translation of those sentences. It's like getting a text message, and basically your emotional standpoint at that time when you read that is your expression of what you're reading.
100%.
So if I'm choosing words that have an emotional tie to it, and I'm speaking, you're basically speaking life, or you're speaking death into, or fear or love, on your words, because they're carrying an emotional thing. That's why, like, Sanskrit and mantras are so powerful, because you're using words that have been used for centuries that carry an emotional charge behind the vibration, right?
Exactly.
And so watching your words, it took me years actually to start catching words that my mind was throwing out all the time. Like, I'll be in the middle of a sentence and I'm like, oh, like, stop,
Yeah.
And like, okay, go back to this word, and it's retraining your brain to, like, latch on to different words because they're so powerful.
And
so if you're looking for that training, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But every time you do that, that's the thing. Every time you change that word should, I hear it all the time. Well, I should. And then the person's energy dips. Why? Why does that happen? Go to watchyourwords.com, that and like 29 other, you get a video every day. It's a phenomenal life-changing program. It's for years free. But when I used to hear watch your words, it's like, watch your language, right? Or, watch your mouth. It's not like that. This is the thing you want to understand. Because when people say should, for example, it doesn't feel good when someone says, you know what you should do? It's like, no, I'm an adult in my life and I don't need to do, it's the rebellious part can come out, or even the pushback or the resistance, but it doesn't feel freeing to a free individual when we should on ourselves, or when someone else does it to us too. Or it's like, oh God, I should call my mom. I don't want to call my mom. And then the beating, I need to call my mom and I don't have time to call my mom. How much wasted life force energy have we just done on the beating ourselves up and shaming ourselves? Well, you should, because if you're a good daughter, and then we go through the roles and rules, the playbook of what have we learned in my Rolodex of, what daughter should do with mother, or son should do with whom, we go through these files. And there's no freeness, there's no nowness, there's no openness to that divine that's breathing us. Does the divine in me right now here want to call my mother? Nope. Wants to go for a walk. Let's go. I mean, you get to co-create your life from a very, very different perspective than the roles, the rules, the shoulds. Now, roles and rules are important. When you go to a four-way stop, everybody gets there at the same time. You know what to do. If there's a stoplight, everybody stops, and that helps the flow of traffic. So I'm not saying all rules, all laws, nothing like that. I'm saying when you think about what it means to be even a human,
Hmm.
or even a woman or a man, or, a daughter or a husband or a wife or a mother, a parent. There, when you think about it, as I've just said those roles, if I even just saying, what do you think about the role of a parent? You're either having the role inside of yourself if you are a parent, or you're thinking about your own parent, or you're thinking about your friend's parent. They had a really cool parent. Like the mind goes there. It goes into the Rolodex. It goes into the file cabinets, I guess is a better word. It goes into the file cabinets, Rolodex of who did I know and what was the file on that. It does it so fast. And we then think we need to live from that. That's where, when we touch up against it, it's like bumping into the file cabinet, right? It's like we're bigger now than the file cabinet. We've outlived the file cabinet. We got to turn away from the file cabinet. Now, the file cabinet is important, because otherwise, every day we would have to come into a room and go, this is a desk. Right? Can you imagine the technology, me trying to get on my computer every day? You should see me if I should see. Zit. It's that zit.
Yeah.
You were mentioning that. It's like, it's in the moment that zit, that's the moment that energy is right now telling you, it's like you're getting out of your lane, come back in. And instead, what I want to say, it's fun to watch me in the morning when I'm doing, the Zoom thing, because I have to really think. Can you imagine if every single day I had to relearn how to use Zoom, or had to relearn how to open up a computer?
Yeah. Now, and I think that's basically like a habit. It just takes a little bit of time to retrain your thinking patterns. And so just watch your words alone is one of the most powerful things I think that someone can start doing to have instant change, by watching their words that they're speaking into themselves. Like, I look in the mirror, I wish I could get rid of this, or I should go to the gym more, or I should, and it's, I am constantly like,
Good catch.
Yeah, speaking, I do it all the time, speaking, curses on myself, and
Yeah.
I'm self-proclaiming, I'm speaking prophecy into my own life based on my words that I'm choosing, and I'm doing it to other people too. Like, how many times I started noticing when I'm around somebody and I say, "Oh yeah, I got this idea. I'm gonna write a book." Oh really? Like, what's in it? And then there's constant like negative thoughts, because most brains want to have the worst outcomes so they can survive. Like, that's our body's original job. And so to like break yourself out of that, not only did I have to remove myself and not feel bad about it, remove myself from people that have those patterns, because when we enter into their energy space, they're affecting me. So did you find yourself like doing that in your own life, where you started being aware of, oh, this person is constantly speaking bad things. I
Oh
need to
yeah.
stop being around them. I need to stop being around this place or this place. And did that start to help your vibration with?
Being aware of everything and everyone. So, it might, yeah, I had decided there's a certain aspect, or a certain kind of leg, if you will, of my family, cousins, that I'm no longer I don't have any anger, any animosity. I love them. I send them love. But I don't want to spend Christmas with them anymore. I don't want to spend Easter with them anymore. I wouldn't want to go on a Friday night and go have drinks with them. I don't drink anyway, but you know what I mean? So if I feel that, then that's the should. Well, they're family. Well, they are, but we're at two very different places, and I just love them and I have compassion for them. I'm not saying I'm better or worse than them. It's just, I'm choosing that from different interactions. For me, trust is really important. If I don't have a relationship, for me, it's, what's the point? It's one of my really big things, because I'm a very trustworthy person. And so if that's broken in a certain something, there's a boundary that's been crossed. We all have our boundaries. We all have our deal breaker, right? And if something's a deal breaker because we want to protect someone from our kids, or that's why I go back to that story of my sister. I feel like my sister made that connection, that choice, so I could have a more light-filled life. Because if she was in my life and she was still doing the things that she would be doing, I wouldn't want her to be around my kids.
Yeah.
So, it's choices that we sometimes have to make. And sometimes we don't have to make the choices at all. Sometimes those choices, because of the vibration, it's like they just, I mean, I have a story about how I was married before too, before I was married to my husband, Frederick, of 15 years. And we were almost married 5, and we were together a total of 8. And I was just surrendered, you know, to, I don't know if I'm happy, but I made a commitment saying my vows and, staying married. It wasn't something I thought of lightly. I took it as something I was committed to. And so, when the hard times got hard, so to speak, or we weren't connecting, I thought I'm just going to keep, go to more therapy. We'll do more work, get in there, we'll fix it. And as soon as I just let it go and I'm like, okay, universe, it's like, what will be will be. And literally the next day, everything just completely unfolded, where I went up to him and I said, this isn't working, because we were in one of those fights, but it wasn't a fight. We weren't talking. And we're living almost like 2 separate lives in the same house for like a couple of days. It happened on a Friday evening. On Sunday afternoon, I came up to him and I said, this isn't working. And I meant living together and not talking. Let's talk. Like, I'm coming to him going like, let's talk. This isn't working. I said to him, I wasn't specific or direct in that way, but I said, this isn't working. So he took his ring, took it off his finger, very violently threw it at me and said, fine, I'll give you a divorce. And right when he said it, I was like, that's a great idea. I mean, I was like relieved. I felt this sense of like, okay. But I never would have asked him for it, because I was so stuck in that, no, I got to be, and it was like the universe took care of it for me. Now, there was stuff that mourning and, when you go from one picture of a reality, you've got your future going towards that with him when that then breaks, no matter what happened. And even if you start connecting with a very, very different future self, a future where, you're actually happy and you're with someone, that's what I started to do. Seeing myself, well, who would I want to be with? What kind of person do I want to, you start dreaming again, you start desiring again. At the same time, I still had to let go of the old while creating the new. So I was mourning, letting go of any hurts, resentments, animosities, clearing up my past energetic relationship with him, because I can now sit here and just be, I am so grateful for him. Absolute love. When I'm reminded of things, I send him love. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my 8-year relationship with this man. Yeah. And yet, every time, whether it's 20 years later with my sister, if I feel emotions that come up, I stop and I let myself feel it, because I want that to be released so that I can create more pockets of openness, of more light, and create what I do want.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, I have another topic I want to touch on, mindful of time, but just to touch on that, I also believe that there's this attachment to when we're younger of things that we should or shouldn't be doing in our life, and so when you reach this place of like, I don't feel like this is right, or I want to get out of this situation, I had this like guilt or like this sense of like, I can't do that. I have to stay or make it work.
Exactly.
I think you're right. Like just choosing like, okay, I'm going to choose what the feeling instead of the logic. And I don't know. I think like, because in my out of body experience, I was told that family trees aren't even real. Like there's no such thing as like my son or my daughter. It's like all just an experience, so we can experience and learn energy and different levels of love. That's what I was told, and which dives me into the question I want to go into, because you brought up the Council of Light, and you kind of like learning about you. I know you've got into meditation and healing and energy work and manifesting, but I think a really big topic is the Council of Light. When somebody hears that, it's almost like, oh, she communicates with, like these light beings. And based
Oh
on my
yeah, it's
experience,
wacko.
very real. And if you really break down logic, though, into how we got here, and like the original paradigm, I think is the right word, of how humanity is, it doesn't really make sense. Like it does make more sense to me that we live many lives, and like there there's like this higher vibration, just like ice turns into water, water turns into gas turns into plasma or whatever those levels are. I was told that there's just different vibrations of energy of the consciousness, and we can access that. So how did you go from, okay, I'm meditating, I'm learning manifesting, I'm doing this, to now I'm talking to a council of light?
Yeah, Dylan, that's a long story. That's a
Uh,
really long story. It starts back 20 something years ago when my first book came through me.
mm,
So um I was meditating, because I meditate every night before I go to bed, and I was meditating and I saw a cover of my book, and it said Christy Whitman Perfect Pictures with the Arizona sunset. And I thought, wow, that's pretty. I don't have a book. Went to sleep, 1:05 in the morning. You know, I hear a voice. It was not mine. And it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't shut up. I was trying to, like, roll the pillow over, stop talking to me. Yes, one could say you're schizophrenic, but I am not. I've been tested. No, I'm kidding. So it's like chattering in my head. And so as soon as I stopped resisting it, it was like, okay, I'm just going to listen to it. And what it was telling me was exactly what I needed to hear for me and what I was going through at the time.
mm,
So I got up and I started writing it down. And all of a sudden my hand just became independent of my own. It was almost like, all right, let me know when you're done. I no control of the hand. It just was going. And I would catch a couple words, but I got in such a trance that I didn't realize had been a couple of hours. I went back to sleep, totally forgot about it. Woke up in the morning and I was like, oh yeah. And I was reading that and I'm like, that is perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's what I'm going through right now. And it was like, it became this understanding of the difference between being in lack and abundance. That was the first, work that I put out in the world. But anyway, got the book published, and, I started speaking in spiritual bookstores and churches, and people started asking me to coach them. And I had no frame of reference for coaching. This is 20 years ago. I thought they meant like a cheerleading coach or a football coach, because why would anybody have a life coach? What would that even look like? So they would tell me what life coaching was, or they'd say, I love that meditation. Can you help run me through that again? Or so I just started naturally being guided. I was hearing that same voice that was, telling me that information that took over my arm. That part was guiding where to go. And all of a sudden I was seeing pictures of what to do for the client and how to use my voice to guide them through a meditation that would then flip their energy, shift their energy, because then they would call me back with these incredible stories of transformation, of shift, and I loved it so much. I mean, there's so much depth. I go into this in my book, Quantum Success, because it's all about, feeling the essence of what you want. And at that time in my career, I was a successful pharmaceutical rep. I had great money, I was making great money, whole thing. Married at this time, we had no debt, building our dream home. I mean, but I still didn't feel passion and purpose for what I was doing in a career, because I wanted what I love to do. So I had no idea that this was even an option. My first book thing came through me because I vibrated in resonance with passion and purpose. So it's all kind of led. Another, to make it shorter, one day I was coaching a group of people, and my hands went up. Now, we didn't have Zoom at the time. It was by telephone. We did instant teleseminar. So as soon as my hands went up, I was like, okay, whatever is happening through the pen on the paper is now happening through my hands. And all of a sudden I saw this vision of this woman, and I could see her neck. And it was the woman that was on the call I was doing a coaching with. And she goes, did you just put your hands around my neck?
Wow.
I was in Montreal, Canada. She was in Seattle, Washington. And I go, I could see, it was like I could see her. And all of a sudden my hands like stopped. It was like this fire red, I mean, like just fiery. It was, my hands felt like they were burning. And I just stayed with it because I couldn't put them down. And it's like, okay, when you're done, so they first took over my hands before they did anything else. Not took over. I don't, it's not a nice, they came in and I didn't resist it. So yeah, I have a YouTube video of the whole entire journey. Plus, when they first came in, I was in a group. We were on Zoom, so it's recorded. So we have the first time that they ever came through, and that was just, again, each time leaning in, seeing a vision, hearing them say, create a sacred circle of light. Ooh, what's that? Get on a call every week, do healing. Okay, got a bunch of women that were wanting to do healing every week because their husband upset them, or because they, stubbed their toe, or whatever. They had this crisis going on. And we just work on mental coaching and healing, doing energy work. And during one of those times, it was like my consciousness went out and their consciousness came in, and we've been together ever since.
Wow. Thank you for giving me the short version on that. No, but I can talk about this one for so long, because I was told that there's like many planets here right now, and they're like excited because consciousness is like about to go to like another level here, and that we're going to start like recognizing other light, like similar lights, and when more of us join together, it's like makes it stronger. And eventually there's this great awakening happening where kids are being born with like other chakras, and like I don't know how much of it is true, but like I'm just like listening to you and like excited, because like I know like I'm in the beginning stages of this process. But I'm curious, like, do you think that like everyone can access this part of their consciousness?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you really think about it, at the essence of who we are, we're all a channel. We're a channel for light, because we have a physical body. It's kind of like going over to the sink, and instead of putting your face under, your mouth into the sink, you take some kind of container, whether it's a cup or a water bottle or, something. You take a container so you can take that water and that you can consume it. You can take it with you, either in the car or, in your office somewhere. And it's kind of like light energy, which is substance that's all around us, like water. That water freely flowing will just go down into a drain. So the essence and the energy of this ball of energy that's in front of me, for those of you on the podcast, I'm just grabbing my hands together and like, playing with I have a ball in my hands the size of maybe a basketball. And so that energy, that can't really do much. But when this energy is that inside of me, it's now in a container. That energy can now create, that energy can now type an email, that energy can now do a podcast, that energy can write a book, it could pet my dog, it could, care for my child that has an earache today. It's like, that's what that energy can do through a container. So we are a container, we're a container of light. And as we feel and flow with that partnership, that connection with us as the physical and light as the non-physical, in pure partnership, even in the breath that we take, or the fact that our hearts are beating, when we can feel that and we can resonate with that, now when more of our pain body or those files, we always remember, but the energy that creates those files, it creates the grounding into what we don't want or how we don't want to feel, basically lowers our vibration. Then when we release all that lowers our vibration, we rise in like a light quotient, we rise in our vibrational quotient. And when that happens, that's when, if we invite it in, if we want that, because I always said I'd love to channel. I used to say, my earliest teachers were channelers. Esther Hicks, amazing woman, channels Abraham, been on many cruises with them, and many workshops, and love their books. And and all that. Before that, it was Sanea Roman, amazing books, groundbreaking stuff, almost over 30 years ago. And these are people I learned from that were channels. So I saw, and I had Melanie tell me, you're a channel. So I was just in tune with it. I was aware of it. Now there's someone in Timbuktu that's never seen channeling, never wants to see channeling. If they haven't heard of channeling, they wouldn't even have it in their periphery. It would be something that is just not even, because it's not a vibrational match, or maybe they're not open to that. So we all have to at least be open, be willing, have that desire, and then leaning in when that happens. Like, some of us do, when that it's an evolvement for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think too, like, do you feel like the more I paid, like, so I've had moments where you said like where I'll be doing something or saying something, and all of a sudden I get new information. So like the more I pay attention to that energy that's guiding me this way or that, or maybe I have lots of examples, but like the more I pay attention to that, the more I will kind of stay on that radio frequency.
Yeah.
Is that kind of
it
like how it works?
it guides you. I mean, just a silly little example. My sons they play soccer, and they had tryouts this entire week for different teams. And my son Max, he was going to try. He's very good. He's played at a soccer camp in Real Madrid in Spain. It was super cool. And so he had a choice of a couple of different teams. His past coach is creating a team, and then he's got his current team, which is being kind of more developed. So anyways, he said, I don't know which one I should go to. And I said, well, you don't shit on yourself. Literally, it's like, go and practice and go do your best, show up 100% at the tryouts. And then the next day you're going to go to the other tryout, see how you feel your way into it, see what feels the best. And he came back last night and he was so clear. He goes, I'm staying with Legends. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, because he could feel the vibration of the one team and he could feel the vibration of the other team, and he can feel which one he resonated with the best. This other team that he decided to go, it was his team 3 years ago. Like, all of the kids came back with this one coach, and he's like, and that would be cool. It'd be great. It's good. It's a good option. But this one has more intensity. This one has more players that are like ready. They're like, he really wants to compete. That's what he's resonating with, because that's what he desires. Now, if he just wanted to go and have fun with a bunch of buds, that one would probably resonate with him differently. It's based on us and what we desire, and therefore what we resonate with. But when you can feel your way into which direction, what feels the best, that's you have guidance with you always.
Love it. Yeah, and I can definitely look back and like see different times where that's come true. And so yeah, I think it's a good message for someone if they're in a place in their life right now, or they're listening, or they've made it to the end, like, and you're feeling like some type of decision or crossroad, or this is all sounding interesting but you're not sure. Like, I think just looking back in your life and paying attention to the times where there was a nudge or some type of thing, because I think we can all have that or access some information about that. And I believe like humanity is actually like a giant body. Each cell has different information when it starts in the body. One is the liver, one's the pineal gland, one's the foot or the hand. And as a society, we tend to judge the foot from the hand. But do you feel like different humans have different information or different abilities based on,
For sure.
what they wanted before they even
Yes.
came into this lifetime?
You said it brilliantly. You are a cell of the divine. I am a cell of the divine. Like, each and every one of us that are in a physical body, if you think about all the billions of people, right? Those are billions of cells of the divine. It's the divine body is what it is.
Yeah, love that. And so I don't, just because you're good at a specific thing, it's like a puzzle piece. I don't need to say, well, she can do this, so I should be able to do this. Well, maybe, and I'm sure that possibility is there. But if this is truly just an experience, maybe there's another experience that I could have that you're not having,
Correct.
kind of
And we
finding
create.
your own light.
Yes. Yes. It's kind of like saying that like I liked your analogy. The heart and the foot are talking to each other, and the heart's supposed to be like the foot, and the foot's supposed to be like the heart. Right. I mean, there are people that do things in this world that I just would never want to do. I do not want to be a lawyer, and I'm grateful that we have them when we need them. I do not want to be a surgeon. I'm grateful that we have them when we need them. I do not want to be a veterinarian. I'm grateful we have them when we need them. You know what I mean? I love getting massages. I don't want to be a massage therapist. I love getting them. Right. So it's like we all have preferences, we all have things, we all have functions, we all have gifts and skill sets. And that's the thing, is that stop judging ourselves and start paying attention, start having compassion for ourselves, start paying attention to the parts of us that are, I mean, parts of our personality, because there's been a big thing in personal development. Kill the ego. The ego, it's bad. It's like each and every one of us have different personalities, have our different sub personalities.
Yeah.
Some were created out of trauma and keep us stuck back in time. But it doesn't mean it's bad. It just needs to be evolved. But he got us to where we are here. Everybody's journey is so different. Don't judge yourself or others. The foot doesn't need to judge the heart because it's not, able to hold all of the weight of the person on it. It gets squished.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of healing is, accepting the thing as it is instead of trying to change it and just send a new pattern of love. And like I think a lot of times when emotions get trapped in the body, there's supposed to be energy in motion, but when they get stuck because we're not allowing it to feel, like you brought up about the grieving and the crying or the different levels, um, sometimes when that gets trapped, a lot of the healings that I do, it's just okay. Let's just pay attention to that emotion.
Yeah.
And let's just be present and stop all the thinking and let's just stay in the body and allow it and it'll move. And like people will be like, oh, it's moving or it's gone or dissipated or I'm crying
Right.
now.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. I do want to be mindful of time. So uh, this has been such an exhilarating conversation. If we could narrow it down to like if you had maybe 3 tips for someone if they're just starting on this journey, because I think even though you have an excellent skill set, I think just like you mentioned with the massage or the surgeon, I think people can come to you for utilizing some of your skills, but I think they can also learn and adopt different things that you know or have experienced to help their own life, even though maybe they might not be called to channel,
Right.
but maybe there's some tools or some type of things that you know about that could allow them to discover their purpose or their skills. If you could narrow that down to 3 like tips or something, what would you?
Absolutely. And I thank you for the invitation. I would definitely go to watch your words, because that's the first place you want to start. Words have power, and the vibration that are under the words. If you just start to do that, that is going to start, do it, continue it every day, write it in your planner. It's going to help you shift. And just even the shifts in vibration, just having the awareness. And I'm very, interactive in the videos. I ask you, say this, and how do you feel about that? Say this, how do you feel about that? So you come to know and have awareness of yourself, because that's really the biggest key. The other thing is that when you notice contrast, something you don't want, ask yourself 3 questions. And those 3 questions are: what do I want? Why do I want it? And how do I want to feel? Because that's going to change your focus. It's going to change your vibration. It's going to get you resonating with something different and make you aware that what you're really wanting is a state, an essence of being. So what is that essence of being? You want to feel joyful, free. You want to feel abundant. You want to feel well-being. Well, that energy is breathing you right now. That interpretation of that state of being happens when you allow in the energy and then choose to feel that state of being.
Ooh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, yes. All right, guys, if you're listening, been a lot of good stuff. And my last lightning round question is if you could list maybe one thing or a couple things that somebody could check out today that impacted your life in a good way, like a book or a video, or I know you mentioned some of your things, but what was something that somebody could check out today that was such a big influence on your life?
Yes, the book Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks. It came out many years ago, but it is still one of the best books I've ever been impacted by in my life. And it really gave an understanding of law of attraction in a way that I didn't get it before, in such organized, concrete, practical applications and tools and processes, so that I can shift the energy when I needed to. So a lot of their processes I've adapted with obviously permission into the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. So if anybody's ever wanting to become a coach, but that book is required reading in the QSCA. It's important.
Love it. Yeah. And we're going to put all the links down below. And you can also check out ChristyWhitman.com. And watch your words. Very powerful stuff. Now, lastly, was there any question I didn't ask you that you would like to answer now?
I don't think so. This was just a really great conversation, and I appreciate the opportunity to, just have this conversation and to help, even if someone shifted or had an aha or had an awareness they didn't have before, that shift in energy, creates a different momentum. It creates a different experience. So I just thank you for letting me be a part of your journey in whatever way it is.
Yeah. All right, guys. And plug into your life, transform from the inside out. And if you found any of this useful, or there's some questions or challenges you're having, please comment below so we can try to get those handled. And check out the websites and the links, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Christy.
Thank you.